The Liar's Chair. This is by Rebecca Whitney, and this is her debut novel, actually. And I was actually at an airport, you know, and I'll go on a flight, and I thought, oh, I'll grab a book and have a look. So I'm not giving anything away when I say it's about a woman called Rachel, and to all intents and purposes, she's very successful. She's married, they live in a nice house, have lovely holidays, run a very successful television production company. So you think she's a woman who has it all, but no. So what happens one night, she's had a couple of drinks, she takes the back roads home and she knocks somebody over. So I'm not giving that away because that's all on the back of here, which is why I chose it, actually. But obviously I can't tell you much more than that because I know there are people in the audience here who are still reading it, aren't you? So I'm not going to give it away. But basically it's about how her life then unravels and how, you know, how her husband deals with it. There's a lot of emotional kind of abuse. I suppose it is emotional abuse.
I went through feeling incredibly sorry for this Rachel, then not actually liking her, then realising that she was the way she was because of circumstances
things
from
in
her
her
past
childhood,
and things that are happening now, and it takes you through every emotion, actually, and some of them, like you said, are quite quite shocking.
I think what's really clever about the book is the way that it's written. You can't help but be drawn into her world, and you know, I mean, the whole book is kind of written from her perspective, and it's really scary to think that people must live like this. You know, the inspiration must have been drawn from somewhere, and I mean, the way that she just kind of spirals out of control and makes the most crazy decisions for herself. And as you said, one minute you do feel sorry for her, but then another you think, well, you're choosing to do these ridiculous
That's why I lost
things.
a little bit of sympathy for her when she was making more and more kind of crazy decisions that I started to feel less sorry for.
I think the problem with the book for me is that both the main characters are thoroughly dislikable. I mean, you don't like either of them, you don't really warm to them. And I had a problem with the book because I thought it was written in a very cynical way with the intention of being turned into a film or a TV drama.
I think it would be a very good film.
Yeah, but I think the problem is reading the book. Generally, I read a book before I go to sleep, and so reading that before I go to sleep is not the images I want to take to sleep. Now, you might say, but Janet, you chose Joe Nesbo as your book the other month, and that had murders in it. But actually, you know, I watch a lot of Scandinavian drama and detective stuff on TV. It's something I feel comfortable with, and so, you know, I found this book left me with images in my head that I wasn't happy with.
Well, I said, you know, one of the main central themes is actually emotional abuse, which at the beginning you don't realise is happening to her, and as the story goes on, you realise this relationship she's in is very, very flawed. And actually, emotional abuse is, by the end of this year, going to become a criminal offence. And we know physical abuse is and domestic abuse, but emotional abuse, and they're saying effective by the end of the year, with for the maximum penalty for which will be 5 years in prison. So you do think, good, that's great. My only thing is how on earth do you prove emotional abuse?
Well, I think what they've said is that if you are experiencing emotional abuse, you have to basically create your own catalogue, but it's as if you've got to make your own case. You have to keep diaries and encourage witnesses to come forward. I mean, that's if you're in that situation, would it? I find it quite unfortunate that it has to be like that. But in the same breath, how else could it be done? Do you know what I mean?
I think it's going to be very hard to bring prosecutions, and it's asking a lot of women who are in, or men who are in an abusive relationship, to keep a diary, because part of abuse is to almost brainwash you. And on The Archers at the moment, there are two characters who are having this kind of relationship. Rob Titchener is the most hated character on The Archers for years and years and years, and he's controlling Helen. He's now banned her from driving. He doesn't let her go to work, and he's taken over caring for her son. And the listeners to The Archers are outraged, but it's very clever because you see how he's subtly taken away all her freedoms, and she's now feeling tired all the time. Of course, she's pregnant by him as well, and it's really distressing to listen to.
Yeah, it's done over such a long period of time as well, and often the abuse starts with, like, oh, don't go out tonight and leave me. I just like it when it's just you and I.
That's the thing.
Up.
And also a lot of these women, because I do have people write to me at the Mirror about it, and a lot of them are always end it. They tell me this terrible stuff, like he won't let me go out, or he uses money to control me, all of these things. And they always end it with, but he does love me. He says how much he loves me, and it's like, no, he doesn't.
The NHS actually have got some signs to look out for if you think you're being emotionally abused in a relationship, or maybe a friend or family member. It says, has your partner tried to keep you from seeing your friends or family? These are questions to ask yourself. Does your partner constantly check up on you or follow you? Does your partner accuse you of unjustly flirting or having affairs? Do they constantly belittle or humiliate you? Regularly criticise? And finally, have you ever changed your behaviour because you're afraid of what your partner might say? And that's a very powerful question to ask yourself or somebody else.
But it's having the strength to own up to it, to tell somebody else.
And
you need to tell one other person.
Yeah.